everyone. Welcome to another episode of Home Service Hustle. I'm your host, Jonathan Bannister, and today I'm with Trey McWilliams. Trey is the COO and owner of McWilliams and Son. He is also the co-founder of the Blue Cardinal Group, and he has been in this space for a very long time, and he's done some amazing things. He's also known and recognized as one of the top 40 under 40 for ACHR News. Welcome to the show, Trey. Thank you.
Hey, thanks, Jonathan. Glad to be here.
All right, so let's go back to the beginning and talk about, like, when did you first get into this business and why?
Yeah, so I'm a third generation. So grandfather started the air conditioning business in '74. My dad followed his footsteps, and then I had the great privilege at a young age to be able to ride with my grandfather through junior high, through high school. By the time I was a senior, I was running service, and just as I graduated high school, I went to work and started really playing my part in the family business, and began to work my way through that. I've told this story a few times, but I think in 2010 it became a pretty big inflection point for me. I was marrying my high school sweetheart, or had married my high school sweetheart, and starting a family, and really just begin to wonder, hey, is this a job or is this a career? And that led me to thinking, well, if I think this way, so does all these employees that my dad has. What are we going to do to change it? And, as that thought began to progress on, I just finally came to the conclusion, if not me, then who? And went to my dad and said, hey, this is the way I think the business should look. This is the culture that I would like to work with every day. This is the career opportunity I'm looking for, and I believe the talent we're looking for is going to desire. And was very fortunate to have a dad say, Trey, if you're willing to pay the price, I'll get behind you. And off to the races we went.
And so paying the price, was that a financial investment to buy in, or was that like sweat equity?
No, the paying the price to me are I probably didn't fully understand that or appreciate that when I committed to it. But what it really was the culture of our business was not what it needed to be. And from 2010, we were a small business at the time, doing $1.2 million in revenue.
Okay.
And so between 2010 to 2013, there was only one employee that made it through that journey with us. It was and that happened to be my mom's sister, which was our dispatcher, CSR, accounting. She kind of was all the back office. Her name was Teresa. And so every technician, every installer in those 3 years, we turned over. And it wasn't a fun experience. And it was an experience too, that when you're that size of business, when you fire someone or have to part ways with someone, it's not like someone else picks up that call rotation or that workload. It's you. Right. So paying the price to me was like really just, it was both physically as well, of just being willing to terminate a technician because he was the wrong fit, and realizing those 5 calls that he was running today, I get to run those when I'm done with my normal workload.
Yeah. So let's talk about that a little bit then. What was that transition like? What advice do you give for someone listening? And I'll make one comment of where I'm going with this. I went to a seminar or mastermind a couple months back, and I heard someone say, if you really want to take like an inside look of your business and the staff that you have, go ask this question. And if you can't, without 100% doubt, not have any hesitation to the response to that question, then you already know the answer. And the question was, knowing what I know today, would I go and rehire that person right now? And if you can't say 100% yes, then you got to go get rid of that person and replace them immediately, because there's a problem there that you're not willing to deal with. So what was that like, pretty much getting rid of everybody but one person in the company? Why did that happen? What advice do you give to these people that are holding on to techs that won't follow process, don't know how to sell, don't want to help make the company profitable because you're not a nonprofit? So what advice do you give there?
Well, I think, Jonathan, like if I was to zoom out though, like why did I want to change the culture? And it wasn't really predicated off money for me. Like I definitely wanted to I had a responsibility to my wife and child and employees.
Yeah.
But for me, it was like this higher purpose is like, I want to come to work with people I love working with every day. And so it was really about that and about the dream of what this could be. And for me, like, I didn't really know it at the time, but really my desire was I was in the people building business, and that's really what I wanted to do. I got more satisfaction and just I was fulfilled more when a new technician became a first-time home buyer and he worked with us. So for me, it was really having, if you're going to pay the price, you got to know what you're paying the price for. And I think right at first, I paid the price for myself, and then realized that the price I was willing to pay was beyond me. It was for this culture that I desired to create. And so back to your questions, like, are they the right, I think in business, knowing what you need to do is always pretty clear. What people fail to execute on is how to do it. So do you need to terminate someone or part ways with someone? Normally, the answer to that. The question is how, and the how comes into the timing of that. Should I have his replacement or her replacement before I do it? How did I come to that conclusion? The thing I always ask my leadership team is like, did we do everything in our power to set them up for success?
Right.
And did we give them the resources they needed? Yes. Then if we did that and they're still failing, then part ways. But when do we part ways? And I think that's always like what we are in a position. My dad was in a position. He was held hostage by employees. He wouldn't terminate someone because he didn't have the ability to replace that person. And honestly, it's a bad place to be. And that was something that as I began to grow the business is like, I never want to be held hostage. And I don't mean that like that people are throwaways. I'm not going to be in a position like I added plumbing to our business. And, they're like, hey, we're going to add a plumber. Trey, when we think about doing that, this is my leadership team, let's hire a plumber. We'll build a business. Like, no, thank you. If we can't hire 5 plumbers, I don't want to do it because I'm not going to be held hostage by one plumber. Like we're going to commit to this scalable, it's scalable enough or sizable enough that we can afford to part ways with someone that's not a culture fit or a performance fit for us.
Right.
So I think that's like the hardest thing I think is removing the emotions at times, but making sure like a lot of times emotions are not because maybe you do care about that person a lot, but a lot of it is you're stuck in a trap you don't know how to get out of.
Yeah. No, I think that was a good point you made. I've been held hostage before, and I've made it a mission and a purpose for me that I'll never let myself get in that place again. But I know so many clients of mine that have opened up plumbing division or tried out some new system they were going to do, and they only have that one person, and they do end up getting held hostage because when that person knows that they're it, then they're going to try to operate on their terms and see how far they can push, the needle or whatever. So that's interesting. I think that's great advice. I mean, it's not cheap, but I think if you're going to do it the right way. If you want to open up plumbing, get everything lined up, hire multiple people, because I think you will get in that situation where, yeah, you've got this perfect dream for this guy that says he did $800,000 in sales last year in plumbing, but it's his ways, right? And if he doesn't want to bend to you, then you're held hostage because like now you got to go figure out a solution. So yeah, I've never thought of it that way.
Yeah.
So let's talk about where you guys are today. Like you said, 2010 to 13 was a complete rebuild, new culture. I want to talk to you about that culture part real quick. You didn't work anywhere else, right? Except for the family company.
That's correct.
Yeah. I mean, most people that I interview, they're saying they worked for, 3, 4, 5, 6 other companies, and they took a little bit of what they liked and didn't like from them to say, like, this was the culture we were going to have here. So where did that come from for you, that you said, well, if I'm going to be a part of the company and this is going to be my future and it's going to be a career and a legacy here, we got to change the culture? Like, where did that come from? I mean, you're young, right?
I think culture, I think for me, it came from a desire of what I wanted to work for. And to me, like, culture's extension of the leadership team. Who you are as your leadership team. And if you're a small business, that's typically you as the owner. Then as you begin to scale, it's you and your general manager and your service manager and your install manager. And that's really, for me, it's like, we're in a people building business. Our job is to create opportunity. Someone leaves me for more opportunity, shame on me. And so growth was a necessity to maintain our culture, because we are a culture of growth, right? We're a culture of opportunity. In order to create growth, we had to be profitable, right? So performance and operational excellence was part of that culture that we had to instill. So I think it's evolved, right? And it's evolved as I became a better leader, or I got exposure, of going to, I think exposure is king, right? And like, whether that's going to visit an HVAC business or a plumbing business or some total different industry, I think you as a leader, that's your job, is to get exposure and bring it back to your people. And then as you get people in your business that are influencers, it's very important to then let them go get their own exposure and send them places. And that was really my goal, was like, never want to be the smartest one in the classroom, or never want to be the smartest one in my building, but wanted to lead with integrity, lead with confidence, and then hire great, smart people. And that's really what our culture was kind of built around.
I guess the part I'm trying to understand is, I mean, how old were you back in 2010?
Yes, I was 24.
All right. So 24 years old, been working for the family company, and you kind of draw a hard line in the sand saying, like, if this is going to be my future, like that, I want to make some major changes. But you talk about, the culture is like the makeup, the DNA of the leadership, but like, your dad's running the company and you're basically telling him, you don't have a good culture here, and this isn't going to be the future I want to work for. Right. So how did that conversation go?
I don't know if I ever addressed it quite that way.
Yeah, I'm sure you did. Right.
So mine was really about, like, I understood. I think my dad he had tried different things, and it was just him. And now he had a sounding board. He had an influencer that and he had a guy that was willing to go, like, walk the talk, right? Mm-hmm. So meaning we were asking techs to do certain things that we knew would create, better results. They wasn't willing to do it. And all of a sudden you got a son that's willing to go run the playbook, and success happened. I think better practice groups, like early on, we were part of Service Nation Alliance, and then we moved into another group called Praxis. But I think I got exposure to different businesses. But for me, it was really just, it was, pretty clear. Like, I knew in order to get out of the trap we were in, we had to be able to pay well, and we had to. So it means we had to perform. We had to get marketing dialed in so we could have lead gen to supply to these guys. So I think a lot of the blocking and tackling things that's required to support great talent, we were committed to doing. And then from there, it kind of just evolved. There was never like a time where, like, I idolized a particular business and said, hey, I want my business to look like that. I think I was really curious and looked at a lot of ways businesses done things and saw cultures in businesses, et cetera. But honestly, it was just, as we begin to hire like-minded people and begin to challenge them and get exposure, it's like we just kind of evolved it over time with some basic principles of integrity and certain things that we're like, hey, this is who we are. But I think as you go through, different phases of scale, that culture, you begin to coach those people, but there's going to be little different cultures in each division of your business as leaders take ownership of that. And I think my dad was a lot wiser probably than I thought he was, at the time, was really allowing that culture to step back and allow someone with new energy and new ideas to come in. And, from that lesson, though, I learned the same things like, my call center, I got it to a certain point, but when Sarah came in, it took on a little different look and a little different flavor than when I ran it. But my non-negotiables were still being respected, but it became Sarah's call center and Sarah's culture of how she leads.
Yeah. Let me ask you, so operational excellence is one of the things you're known for. So how do you instill that value into the team, and what does how do you make sure that is pushed into the culture as well to everyone?
Well, I think we're all selfish human beings, and I think we always want to know what's in it for me. And I think if I want someone to perform well as a technician, I got to come from that angle, and I got to always be preaching to that technician what's in it for him. And what's in it for him is I tell everybody, on our team is like, your job as a vehicle to get what you want out of life. It's not your life. So my job is to teach you how to maximize and be at your effectiveness in the 8 hours I get from you every day. Mm-hmm. Right. And how we retain those technicians are, whether we think so or not, like, it don't matter how much money they make working for us. If their home life sucks, they're not probably going to be a long-term employee. So we took the approach of, we needed to make these great baseball dads and great cheer moms. And if they had their house in order and those type of things in order, then they were looking for tools to better improve their life. And those tools, typically, if they use them, they translate into better KPIs and better performance for our company. So, the accountability side of that was always from a coaching standpoint of like, John, I just want to get you better. Like, I want you to earn more money. This is how you earn more money, John. Like, this is how you get more time off, John. This is how your membership conversion rate is how we get to make sure you get the hours you need during this time of the year, John. And that's why we're going to keep you busy. And it was always about what's in it for them.
So it sounds like transparency and the vision, sharing that vision with the entire company is important.
Yeah. No, I think clarity, and then minimizing what you're tracking. And I don't mind tracking a lot of different things, but technicians are going to be able to focus on about 4 or 5 things and KPIs. And it's really which ones are the most important. And I think that's what we focus on. There's a lot of different ways of getting there. I hear all the time, like, hey, what's your flip rate? What's your conversion rate? What's your cancellation rate? I just want to know what your install rate is. And you can get there a bunch of different ways. You can flip every lead that you go to, or you can flip 50% of your leads and sell 100% of them. I really don't care. Just tell me what your install rate is. And so very simplifying, what we're trying to hold them accountable for. And there's a lot of different ways for them to get there.
So what are, you said, there's maybe 4 KPIs that the techs can chew on. What would you say those are? What are they for you?
Well, I think that if I was to pull back, I think when I look at budgets, for instance, I see people put these budgets together and the average ticket's increasing and it's going to increase January 1, right? It's it's December. Why can't you do it in December instead of January 1? And reality is what the budget is reflection. It's the continuation of current performance and current behaviors. And then if you're going to increase your budget, there's a behavior change that takes place. So more so than focusing on KPIs, I know if we want to drive our average ticket up, service ticket, I know if you will move from 2.5 offerings to 3.2 per service ticket, I know that your average ticket will go up. So a lot of times we focus more on the behaviors that drive average ticket versus average ticket, because most technicians, they just think you want them to push harder to drive average ticket. So average ticket's one of them, but if we really unpack that, it's really teaching the disciplines that drive average ticket. And in our eyes, it's making sure you're making more than 3 or more offerings per service call you run. And if you're doing that, your average ticket will reflect that. So average ticket's one, membership conversion rate is one, and then installation rate of age opportunities. Okay. And then of age opportunities is our number one KPI as a company. We want to know what percentage of calls you're running are above 10 years old. And I want to know that and I want to know that in your membership base too, and making sure that we're replenishing that on a regular basis as well.
So it's a little unfair because obviously your sister is a branding genius, and I know that y'all have done a lot of amazing things there at the company, and then the pest control company, and a lot of other things. So for those of you listening, his sister Crystal, the founder of Lemon Seed Marketing, there's a lot of amazing things that have taken place in the last several years to help strengthen y'all's brand. What are some of those community involvement things that y'all are doing to strengthen the company's brand?
Yeah. So I think Crystal came on with me, marketing degree, super smart, very energetic. And it goes back to hiring people that sometimes is your weakness. And so I'm not a rah-rah person. I'm a guy that comes in, numbers don't lie. Let's get after it. And Crystal's more like numbers don't matter. Budgets don't matter. Just trust me. So very opposite, but very much aligned on how we operate, how we think, and collaborate well together. And Crystal came on board with us, I think in 2015, I believe. But she was helping me in 2013. So, and then full-time 15. But one of the focus was, maybe 2013. Time gets away from me, but we put community marketers. That was one of the things Crystal started off at. So she was doing marketing, which a typical marketing, I would say, is external marketing to a consumer, right? And which is branding, all the different tactics. And then there was this other piece that I think is one of the very underserved is internal marketing. Making sure your team buys into what you're selling externally. Make sure your team knows the promotions. Make sure your team knows the how the promotions work. So there was external marketing, internal marketing, and then there was employee engagement, right? And the employee engagement is we are getting at a point in scale where I didn't know everybody's name in our business. We had 100+ employees. I didn't know everybody's names. Like I did at one time. I knew everything about you, right? When we were smaller, I knew your wife's name, your kids' names, I knew family members. And that was something that scared me as we wanted to have this family environment. But yeah, we were getting to a point where I walk into a warehouse and don't know anybody in there. And so how do we maintain culture? How are we intentional about culture?
Yeah.
And so Crystal really came on and really served those three: is a conventional marketer, which what most people think, and then internal marketing, which was being at the company meetings, making sure that service technicians knew what the promotions were, believed in the promotions, which means sometimes they got a little bit of input to what we're offering. Call center knew the offerings, everybody was in tune. And then that third piece, which I honestly believe is the most critical piece or the most successful thing we've done, is if there's a few things I think rank in the top 3 or 4, and brand ambassador is probably one of those. And really what that was about was a couple of things. Like I said, it was, employee engagement, making sure our company meetings are on brand, right? You get there, music's cranked up, food's there, professional environment, well put together, PowerPoint, celebrating technicians, highlighting opportunities. And it was all done at a very high professional level. The company parties, when Colton's wife had a child, I got a text message that said, Trey, Colton's wife just had this child. Here's her name. Here's the baby's name. gift bag is in the office. What time are you going to the hospital?
Mm.
Right. And well, it wasn't that, I may not have Colton, but I didn't know everybody. So it gave me the opportunity to whether that was me or their direct service manager, but it was intentional. We had to go to the hospital. I had to take the onesie that was a McWilliams' son onesie. And those things mean stuff to people. And honestly, it was fulfilling to me. And it was a piece that used to give me a lot of joy that began to get put on the back burner as we scaled the organization, because you're always putting out fires. And as a leader, it's very easy to lose sight of being a leader and showing love to your employees. So Crystal really did, that was one. And then what morphed out of that was, most people don't really know what it's like to be a servant and have that servanthood mentality of serving someone that will never repay you. So like the brand ambassador for us, community marketer, if you're in a leadership position with us, you're in a nonprofit, and if you're not going to join one, she's going to put you in one. And then we got our team involved, whether that's Habitat for Humanity or whatever, but it started teaching our people about servanthood and about serving other people and really giving back. And I think that's a feeling that a lot of people don't know what it feels like, don't even know where to start. So that's really was one of the things that Crystal implemented. And that really helped us out, though, in the community, because as we began to give back in the community, obviously as a marketer's leading the charge on that, we were on brand, right? Our trucks was front and center. If we wanted to sponsor an event, Crystal was not allowed to just write a check to the event. Like, we had to be there and serve, whether that was Crystal, a service technician, a service manager. If they were going to use a vehicle for whatever that was, it was probably a branded McWilliams Son vehicle. And so it was all these different things that we really leveraged what we were doing in the community to be on brand and really, give benefit as well to the company.
I love it. That's phenomenal. And to hear, I think what wraps this whole thing up is brand and its culture. And y'all have done a phenomenal job of those two things for sure. What's 2026 look like? What is how did 25 go? Like where were y'all land revenue? And then where were y'all from the goal that y'all had going into this year?
Yeah. So, a little backstory on that. It's like, so I bought my dad out in 2015. Between 2015 and 2018, we had opened up multiple locations, made a few small acquisitions, and then added plumbing. So that the year we added plumbing, we bought a plumbing company doing about $2 million in revenue in our South market, and added it to our two larger markets, which was Lufkin and Nacogdoches. So we added 26 plumbing trucks that year on the road to those two markets, and also beefed up the market that were the company we bought. So we went to just shy of 30 million in revenue. And at that point, we then 2021, we created a platform called Blue Cardinal Home Services, which then was really designed for like-minded operators to join. So we had quite a few like-minded operators. So I guess I say all that to give a little bit of context. Like, this isn't a fair statement because we did acquisitions, right? And we are a platform now. So we've now are up to like 15 locations from Arizona to Alabama, Kansas City, and all of Texas.
Oh, wow.
So a little different, just give some context. But what we've seen in the individual branches was companies that historically had not performed as well. And what I mean by that is their conversion rate of flipping a opportunity call to a sale. The companies that had not done that historically well, that really got dialed in this year, have killed it, right? They've grown drastically, but they've grown drastically off a pent-up demand within their existing customer base. The companies that have historically done really well at that, McWilliams being one of them, the Dallas market being one of those, it was a very flat year. We're up, but honestly, we're up because of conversion rates have gotten a little better. pricing. We took a little bit of pricing, but if you look at it from a lead gen, demand cost jobs, we're not up in jobs. Plumbing has been pretty strong across all the different branches, but I would say plumbing's fairly immature service line. So we've had a lot of existing customers. So most of our growth has came from leveraging cross-branding services with our existing customer base, or having a customer base that you could say was probably underserved historically, and we were able to increase that. So brands that were running pretty strong, if you looked at the last 3 years and their conversion rate was really strong, we didn't have a down year, but it wasn't the historical growth that we saw, because McWilliams from 2010 to 2023, we ran at a 30% CAGR growth. So we had good growth then, but we were adding services and geographically. But we got some brands up 60% this year, and then we got some brands that were just in the single digits.
I appreciate you sharing and being transparent there about the numbers. So we're getting to the place of the show where I like to do I wrap up the show with some rapid fire questions. So I'm going to shoot some things out, and you just kind of give me some of the first things that come to mind. All right. Childhood hero.
Ooh. Probably my mother's dad, Johnny.
Okay. A famous person that you would like to have a dinner conversation with, and they could be dead or alive.
My. John Maxwell.
Okay. Most adventurous thing you've ever done?
Well, it was probably the first time I'm a pilot, so it was probably my solo. The first time I did solo.
If you had to make a sudden career change tomorrow, what would it be?
Away from the trades?
Yep.
I don't know. That's a hard one, because it seems like everything touches the trades that I know, whether that be construction. But
you can just go get your commercial license. You can go fly commercial planes.
I don't know. I don't care to be a bus driver. I don't know. I'd probably be in the land business.
Okay. Beach or mountains?
Mountains.
And the last one I always wrap up with is, what is Trey's belief in aliens?
I don't believe in them.
No?
No.
All right. Well, Trey, I have enjoyed the time. I appreciate you sharing your story, and congratulations on all the success, and I wish you nothing but success in the future.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Thank you, man.